Bringing your new puppy home is exciting, but let's be honest, it is also overwhelming. What should you do first? When should you feed them? Where are they going to sleep? Is that behavior normal? So in today's video, I am going to break down for you what you should be doing from day one to ensure that your pup has a confident and calm start to their new family. So firstly, set the tone. Keep it calm. When you bring your new puppy home, you want your house to be as calm as possible for them. They have had quite an overwhelming journey. They've been taken away from their mum, their litter mates, and they're coming into a brand new environment. So it's really important to keep the tone gentle and calm. Keep the actual house relatively quiet and not chaotic. Don't have people coming in and out. Try to avoid having too many visitors around. There will be plenty of people that are so excited to see your puppy, but just ask them to respect that for the first 24, 48 hours, you don't want visitors because you want puppies to have time to settle in. Let puppies sniff. When you get home, allow your puppy to sniff and have a good explore of the environment. Follow them around, but not on top of them. Just sort of keep your eye on what they're up to. But it's really important that they get the opportunity to sniff around and just sort of get their bearings and understand what's happening in the household without people following them, sort of making shrieking noises behind them, picking them up. They should be allowed to explore in their own time and in a nice and calm manner. So when I first got Reggie home, he immediately disappeared off under a little table that we've got in the lounge and wouldn't come out for about half an hour. And that was fine. We just ignored him. We left him to it. We stayed in the room just talking in low voices. And sure enough, he eventually came creeping out and up to us. So it was just really important to let him have that half an hour of just hiding so that he could just calm himself down after the car journey and then come out in his own time. Show them their safe space. If you are using a crate or a bed or you've designated an area for puppy, take them to it and show them their space. Let them know that that is theirs. A really good thing to do is most breeders will send you home with a blanket that has been used with their litter mates and their mum, so it's got that scent of home for your puppy. I personally covered our crate in the blanket so that it was not only nice and dark and sheltered for pup, it also meant that it smelled like mum. You could line the bed if you're using a bed for your puppy, line the bed with the blanket, or you could just pop the blanket in the area that you want your puppy to sort of designate as their safe space. Don't force them into their safe space. So if you are using a crate, don't push puppy in. What I would do is just scatter a little bit of food or some treats in there and just encourage them to go in and out of their safe space of their own volition so that you're not forcing them to do that, and certainly not shutting the door on them in the crate as soon as they go in. Just let them explore that environment. Make sure that wherever the safe space is in a quieter area of your house. There's no point in setting up a crate in the kitchen if your kitchen is a really busy spot in the house. It needs to be somewhere quiet so that puppy can go and escape the hubbub of the house if they're feeling overwhelmed or tired. The first toilet break, do not wait as soon as you get out of the car, because most people are going to go in the car to go and pick up their puppy. As soon as you get out of the car, let puppy down for a wee. Now, some people are worried because the dog's not vaccinated yet, that they can't put pup down in the garden. If it's in your own garden, it's absolutely fine to let your puppy go and have their wee in that area. I just wouldn't recommend letting them wee on grass verges or anywhere that other dogs may have been who you don't know if they're vaccinated. If, like us, we were bringing a second puppy into the home, I knew that my first dog was fully vaccinated and well, so it was absolutely fine for Reggie to go into the garden and have that first wee. If you don't have a garden and you're using something like puppy pads, immediately put your pup onto the puppy pads to encourage them to have the wee there so they get the idea. Personally, I would avoid puppy pads where possible. I personally prefer to immediately put them out into the garden for weeing, but that is personal choice and you have to do what is right for you and your home setup. But the most important thing is that your pup gets the chance to have a wee. If you immediately carry them in from the car into the house, put them down in the house, inevitably they are going to empty their bladder because they've only got tiny bladders. And if you've had a longer car journey, they'll be absolutely bursting to go. And that can just set the tone for, it being just not the greatest start. So I would always recommend letting them have that first wee outside. How to handle excited children around your new puppy. Basically, if you have got younger children who understand the basics, have that chat with them before puppy comes home. Explain to them that you need them to be calm, although they will be incredibly excited that puppy actually needs a little bit of space and a little bit of time just to find their feet and to explore on their own terms. Just encourage them to sit calmly in the room with pup as they explore, and holding a toy or holding a treat and encouraging pup to come to them but not chasing after them for cuddles and things. It's really important that they understand that the puppy needs some space and boundaries of their own, so that they're not interfering with that initial settling in period. I appreciate this is very, very hard if you have toddlers or much younger children who don't really understand personal space. Have been there. But if that's the case, if possible, have them stop with a friend or with a grandparent while you get puppy home and just get them settled, even if it's just for an hour or two, and then bring them back into the home environment and obviously watch them carefully with the puppy. With the older children, just explain to them things like the puppy's safe space is their area. You don't want your children climbing into the crate, onto the crate, into the bed. They need to respect that that is puppy's area and it's sacred, really, and should just be left alone for puppy to go into that. Your puppy might feel overwhelmed by your children's energy and may want to go into that safe space to escape from them. Don't be upset by that. It's just puppy's way of thinking, right, I am a bit overstimulated here. I need to go away and settle down. So my children were 6 and 8 when we brought our first puppy home. And to be fair, they were extremely good. My younger one did have a thing about going and cuddling her when she was asleep, which resulted in her biting him a couple of times. But it wasn't her fault. It was my son's fault because he wasn't respecting her boundaries. So it is just worth having that chat with your children. I have actually got a guide for children on how to handle their puppy coming into the house, which is a free download, and I will put the link below. That's really useful and a little bit of a fun way to explain to your children the boundaries that you are expecting from them. Offer water immediately as soon as they get home and they've had that wee. Show them where the water is in the house and don't move it around. Just put it down where it is and just keep taking them back to the water so that they know where that is if they need a little drink. If it's near mealtime, then it's great. Give them a little bit of the food that the breeder has spent them home with. Most good breeders will send you home with some of the food that they have weaned the puppies onto. I don't recommend switching food immediately in that first 24, 48 hours, just because, again, we're trying to settle puppy into the new environment, and making too many changes can just stress them, can stress the digestive system, which will result in something like diarrhea. So just give them small amounts of food. But don't panic if they don't eat. Dolly didn't eat for 24 hours when we got her home, and I was starting to be a little bit worried that she wasn't eating. Sure enough, within 24 hours, she was starting to graze at her food. So don't be panicking if they're not showing any sign of interest in the food that you are presenting to them. Don't start enticing them with bits of cheese and ham. Just trust me, they will start to eat. Always feed them in the same place so they know where to go for that food. If you start moving it around and putting it in the crate or putting it in the lounge or moving it to the kitchen to try and encourage them to eat, you're just going to confuse them. So make sure that the water and food is kept in the same place in the house. And then once they're settled, it will be worth looking at their food and what has been sent home from the breeder, but I will cover that in another video. Let them sleep. Pups will sleep from 18 to 20 hours a day, particularly if you're getting a puppy at 8 to 10 weeks old, which is what the average is. They do sleep a lot. So it's really important to let your puppies sleep. As long as they're not showing any signs of illness, sleeping is completely and utterly normal. Don't disturb them when they're sleeping. So don't go in for cuddles, don't go in for picking them up, leave them be. Ideally, they would go and sleep in their safe space. If you're noticing signs of overexcited behavior, zoomies, biting, quite often that is because they are overstimulated and overtired. They are just a small toddler, basically. So if you're seeing that kind of behavior, try taking them to their safe space and encouraging them to just settle. You could just give them a chew or a toy or something to occupy them, and you quite often find that they will very quickly go to sleep. But it is important for you to encourage them to understand why they're acting up and to put them into that safe space. If your puppy is just quite happy sleeping and you find they're falling asleep on the sofa or they're falling asleep on the floor, just leave them be. You don't need to pick them up and put them in a safe space. Just leave them be. If the kids are around, tell them to leave pup alone and just let them sleep. They will gradually reduce the amount they sleep quite quickly, but particularly in those early days, they will sleep a lot. Start with some gentle bonding. So when you get them home, what I like to do is sit on the floor in the lounge or wherever it is that you are letting them explore and just gently encourage them to come to you. Use their name, have maybe a treat in your hand, have a toy. If they want to come to you, that's brilliant, but don't go chasing them for it. They might ignore you. They might not be interested in you because you don't mean anything to them initially, or they might be overly clingy and want to be with you. I remember Reggie, when he came out from under the table and once he'd sort of settled, I sat on the floor and he came over to me and he literally got on my knee and just flopped and fell asleep. And it was just the most wonderful experience because I was like, oh, he obviously thinks of me like his mum. So that was a really nice experience. But don't go chasing for it. Just the gentle bonding and just being around them, you know, is just really nice for them. You can also use your clothing for them to sleep with. If they start to bond to you and they're struggling to settle sleeping at night, you could use some of your own clothing because they will start to associate that smell with safety and comfort. So that's worth considering too. Preparing for your first night can be a bit scary. No one's quite sure how it's going to go. And some puppies will just settle and you won't hear a peep all night. Other pups will cry all night. So it's hard to tell which way it's going to go. Just be prepared. You might have a couple of difficult nights ahead of you, but it does settle quite quickly. What you need to do is decide where you want puppy to sleep. Now, for me, I don't want my dogs in my bedroom. I'm a really light sleeper and it's just not something that appeals to me. So both of my puppies went downstairs in their crates from day one. With Dolly, she whimpered a little bit, was fine. Reggie cried all night the first night, which was really hard to hear. What we did was went down every half an hour, took him out the crate, put him in the garden, no eye contact, no talking to him, put him back in the crate, went back upstairs. I didn't want him crying for prolonged periods, feeling like he'd been abandoned, but equally I needed him to learn that he had to settle on his own. And I think that went on until about 2, 3 in the morning, and then he did settle and we never had a problem since. He literally the next night went in his crate, fell asleep. We didn't hear a peep. So that is just something to bear in mind. But again, it's personal choice and you have to do what feels right to you. You might feel more comfortable laying on the settee for the evening and staying downstairs with them. You might want them in your bedroom and that's fine. There's no right or wrong, but just be consistent. With regard to puppies weeing during the night, I personally would be taking them out for their last wee at about midnight. If they then settle and you don't hear from them again, set your alarm for sort of 5, 6 o'clock in the morning, go downstairs, get them out and put them out for a wee. That is just a really good way to avoid accidents during the night. If pup is awake and crying and really playing up, then I would recommend, like I said, going down at regular intervals and taking them out for a wee. But when you're doing that, try to limit your interaction with them, not lots of eye contact, not lots of cuddles, you know, keeping your voice very low. It is good to have a light on. I just kept a side light on and I kept the Alexa on playing music really low all night. You've got to think for that puppy, they've been taken away from their mom and their litter mates. It's their first night on their own. It is quite a scary experience. So just patience and a little bit of understanding is vital, even when you're feeling frustrated. And if you have got a partner, it's worth taking in turns going down and dealing with puppy so they're not constantly expecting one over the other. Keeping your puppy's first few days calm is the key to success, really. Don't be worrying about training. Don't be worrying about accidents. Don't be worrying about too many things. It's a new experience for you. It's a new experience for your puppy. So those first 24 to 48 hours, just be kind to yourself, be kind to your puppy, and just be patient. Children, as I said, there is a link down below for introducing your children to your puppy and how to manage their expectations. That's a free download, so it's worth downloading that. If you've got any burning questions, please leave them below. If not, I will see you on the next video, which I will link up here. Don't forget to like and subscribe for more puppy related tips.